Yo, 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 Narwhals. Doc and I are back with the second part of the Ravine. We just read lines 129 to the end of the story, and you should have too. If you didn't, you should stop this right now and go back and read that stuff because it's not going to make any sense if you didn't read it. So we pick up the second part with Vinny watching Starline take the scary, slippery, zigzaggy path up to the very top of the hill. Vinny is in he's really disbelieving that she's even doing this because all he can think about is that's where the boy who died jumped from.
And she finally gets to the top, and all Vinny can think about is how muddy it is and how there's nothing to really grab onto if she slips. And he's wondering how she can have no fear at all. What do you think Starlene's thinking? I'm thinking that she really must enjoy this little trick where they put the leaf in their mouth so it goes up and covers the nose. I think she must do this for fun. This is something they do all the time. And but I'm still curious about it. My brother, who used to go cliff diving, used to do a 1.5 gainer off the side of Blue Hole Quarry, but he said he was battling against his own fear. As dramatic as his dives were, that he was scared. I'm
Hmm.
still curious about this.
He faced that fear, which is definitely a theme of this, but we'll probably get to that in our breakdown on the next episode. Vinny has a thought where he thinks that Starlene standing at the top of the cliff might be thinking about praying for something relating to the dead boy. But after watching her for a couple minutes, she eventually jumps and she makes a point to jump feet first because she could really hurt herself if she landed on her chest or back flatly. She then pulls a little prank on everybody because she does successfully go in feet first under the water. She pulls the prank and she hangs out under the water for like 20, 30 seconds. This freaks Vinny out a lot, understandably, because of the boy that was lost there. And I actually had a connection here because I went cliff jumping with a group of friends when we were younger. And I had a friend that was ambitious in the height that he wanted to jump from. And he landed feet first, but he also landed bent forward. So he went feet and then chest. And that smack of his chest hitting the water actually broke his chest. It broke his sternum. And it was like 2 months of healing. So I had a very clear image in my head of what she should and should not have been doing. So Vinny watches her jump off, and then Joe Boy heads on up, and Joe Boy, no problem at all. He cannonballs in the water. And then Mo does the same thing, and Vinny ends up thinking he came to this ravine hoping to just go swimming and that he wouldn't have to jump, but now he feels like he has to because all of his friends did. He's in this position now where he didn't want to do it, but he feels like he has to because everybody else did. He's feeling that peer pressure.
I'm feeling the pressure. I think the author here really knows how to turn up the pressure on this 15-year-old. You 12-year-old boys won't understand this, but when you're 15, you're really going to get it.
And that gets intensified that point because Starlene comes over and she asks Vinny, "Hey, are you going to jump?" And Vinny's like, "Yeah, the water's too cold. It's too chilly. I don't want to go in." Starlene doesn't accept it. Starlene knows that Vinny's scared. Starlene found out that Vinny's mom told them not to, and so now there's that weird situation where they can be like, "Oh, your mama said you're not going to do it," which I mean, most teenagers, most kids are gonna they're gonna respond to that challenge. I've been there. I was there as a kid. Then she says that she believes that the boy that was lost the boy that died there. He was actually taken by the stone goddess, and we don't get a lot of information about that, but it's kind of like a spiritual thing. And Vinny doesn't quite understand if she's serious or not, and I don't. We never get a conclusion on that, and we just kind of have to leave it up to the reader's interpretation about how serious she was. But she comes over, encourages him to jump, and he finally caves and he says he's going to jump. Vinny is definitely afraid of heights and he climbs higher and higher. There's a point where he snaps some ginger off and he breathes it in, and that gives him confidence. It makes him more aware of what he's doing. And he keeps climbing and he's climbing and he gets to the point where he's at the tallest point he's ever climbed and he keeps on going. He says that he starts to feel numb because he knows he's about to do an insane thing, but he feels like he's stuck and he has to do it. So he gets to the top And he even throws up a little bit. His stomach turns and he throws up a little bit. He's that scared. He inches forward and he realizes that he's in the same exact spot that the dead boy had been just a few weeks ago. He then has this very interesting moment, and this is like the heart of the story right here. It's like a conversation or a back and forth between a couple different voices and feelings and thoughts inside of Vinny. So Vinny hears some voices inside of him saying, "Do it, jump, jump, jump." But then he also hears other voices inside of him saying, like, "That's crazy. You can't do that." And so he has his thoughts that are on the front of his brain. He has his gut instincts. He has the things that he's feeling. He's in a tough spot. He's arguing back and forth. Do I back out? Do I jump? I don't know.
So he grabs a leaf and some mud, just like Starlene, as if he's going to make the jump. But then he rubs it off, and uh, I I can feel into that feeling. I know I'm terrified of needles of all kinds from something that happened to me in childhood, and I finally gave up on being brave, and I just admit it to the doctors and the nurses when I go and I say, I'm just scared. I admit it, and I need to lie down when you give me this instruction. And it just is such a freeing thing to admit to being afraid and just letting it go.
You described it as freeing, and I think Vinny later describes it as peaceful as peace. But we'll get there. So we're at the end of the story. There's that separation, like that paragraph separation, and then we get to the part where they're all leaving the forest. I had to reread this a couple times. I'm admitting that to you guys to really understand what happened. If you get in a situation where you don't understand a part, especially an important part like the ending of the story, you got to reread too. I did it. There's no shame in it. So the story ends with these friends walking out of the forest, and it seems that Vinny has, in fact, not jumped. He made the climb. He tried psyching himself up, and he even did the same thing that Starlene did, but he doesn't. It seems like he didn't. And there's a focus on this peace that Vinny feels inside of him. It's a new peace, and he feels good. He knows that what his friends are thinking about him, but he doesn't seem to care. He doesn't care that they're judging him for not jumping because he feels this peace, and that peace has almost given him a new way to look at the world. He talks about how he sees a new beauty in everything. So not the ending of the story that I thought we were going to have. I really thought that he might jump, but that ended up not being the case. And when we come back, or when you guys listen to the big questions episode next, we're going to break down that decision, look at all different parts of it, and then try to figure out what was the author trying to tell us with this story. So we will see you next episode for the big questions.